Welcome to Musings and Magic. I'm Lauren Fortuna Flock. I'm a mother, doula, the host of the Well-Nourished Mother podcast, and a somatic matrescence guide. I support mothers through the waves of intensity motherhood brings, so they can fall in love with the mother they are and the mother they're becoming.
And I'm Nicole Pasvier, a mom, wife, and host of the Rewild and Free podcast. I help women awaken beyond the conditioning that's been keeping them pretty, perfect, and pleasing so that they can live more consciously, mother intuitively, and grow their business holistically.
We've never met in real life, and we live 700 miles apart.
But we've been holding space for each other virtually since 2022 when we found each other in super similar seasons of life.
Yeah, we were both in our retiring from a super secure nursing job, in the thick of postpartum, and starting a heart-led business era. We found ourselves chatting for hours on Zoom almost weekly, having the deep, why isn't anyone talking about this conversations around all things motherhood and conscious entrepreneurship.
So we started recording these unfiltered and unscripted conversations to bring you this co-created series. We're inviting you in with deep trust that you'll receive whatever insight, wisdom, or solidarity you need in this season, because we all know motherhood and entrepreneurship are lonely as fuck.
Yeah, we're blending our musings with a touch of magic, the kind of woo-woo, more spiritual, witchy stuff that we're both so curious about, but don't fully relate to.
Yet.
Our intention is to invite more ritual into our lives, so we're using this series to anchor into the cycle of the moon, meeting on the full and new moons of each month. We'll do an energy check-in and explore nuanced conversations around big topics related to cyclical orientation, feminine embodiment in business and motherhood, and our own personal explorations related to reclaiming our inner witch.
So if you're ready to come laugh, learn, and reflect with us, then keep listening. But first, we invite you to take the deepest breath you've given to yourself yet today. And when you're ready, let's go.
If only everyone can see the faces we both just made when we hit record.
Frozen. Hey, how do we do this?
Hello? Yeah, what are we doing? Hello there. Remember us? It's been a while.
Yeah. Nicole and Lauren. I feel like this is extra awkward for us in this moment because we were just on the phone together. Yeah. So we were already talking, and so trying to do a fake hello, how are you would be super fake. So we're just going to skip that part.
Yeah, we are.
We did just look at our last episode that was last June. That was like over 6 months ago, which is crazy.
That is crazy. That's a long time ago, but it doesn't feel that long ago.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. So much has happened and unfolded since then. So I suspect that's probably what we'll talk about. We could just start with that. What has the last 6 months been like for you and me and us? We got together. We've met. We are no longer just online friends. We've met in person twice now since that recording.
Yes.
So for the first time we met, our families went camping together. You and your family were on a 2-week long road trip, and we found kind of the closest meeting point to me. And so me, Dylan, and Aubrey, we got a motorhome this summer. So we drove the motorhome with our dogs and of course Aubrey, and we met you guys, and that was incredible.
Yeah, it was so fun. Yeah, we met at a campground and camped for 2 nights, I think. It was raining a lot, but it was
eaten alive by mosquitoes.
Yes, oh my gosh. Eaten alive. Yeah, they were awful, but it was so fun. The girls loved playing with each other. Yep.
No, it was really good. And then obviously it was only 2 nights, so we parted ways, and that was bittersweet. And I think we both had a moment shortly after that of, ooh, that was almost worse because now we know what it's like to be in each other's physical energy. So we miss each other even more.
Yeah, so true. Yeah. And I remember just staring at you, and I could feel my brain putting all of these pieces together of all these, we have these deep conversations. I feel like you know me better than some of my closest friends that I see all the time. So it was super weird to just stare at you and put all of that knowledge. And I don't know, it felt weird. It felt weird to put a real human face and body to all of the...
both had a moment of, now that you know me in real life, do you still want to be my friend? Do you still like me? And we also both shared the reflection of, yes, you're exactly who I thought you'd be. And you are a living embodiment of all the things that you portray yourself as online. So that was beautiful and refreshing, because obviously that's not the case for all relationships, right? And that's not the case for a lot of people, unfortunately, that are showing up online. They are a different person in real life. So thank you for being who you say you are.
You too. Oh, modern friendship, man. So cool.
And then, so that was in August, right?
And I can't believe we haven't talked about that. Like, we haven't shared. I can't believe it's been since June. That is wild. But so.
Oh my God, so much has happened in both of our lives since then.
I need to go find my agenda. I can't even think back to
like, Lauren, you're a nurse again.
Oh yeah, I haven't really shared much about that either.
Sorry.
Yeah. Good old nursing union has me back to work. Got a similar job back. Got my seniority back. So that was a whole experience to go through, to be like, hey, I have this opportunity to get my job back. So then I had to go through the motions of getting my license back, because I let that go as well. Like, I fully thought I was done with nursing. I like hung up that hat, and let go of that identity. And that was such a process of disentangling all this stuff from the last 5 years or whatever it's been since all of that. But yeah, it's been really great. Overall, it's been really awesome to be back. I love my job. I love the type of nursing I do. I love being a nurse, and I love, being with other people in that way. Like, I didn't realize how much I missed it. But one of my first shifts back, I got to spend so much time with this 90-year-old woman, and we just chatted. And of course, I did her like wound care and things that needed to be done. But
nursey things.
Nursey things. But I got to just hang out, and I like forgot how much I love just interacting with people in that way. And yeah, it's been really great to be back. But like the first day, I felt like I had to scoop out cobwebs from my brain. Like, it felt just wild. I was like, wow, I have not had to use this part of my brain in a very long time, but it is all back now. But it's been a process.
Witnessing you in the journey of even coming to the decision of going through all of the motions that you had to go through was really incredible to watch, because I mean, I think we've named this in conversations outside of this recording, that like it was as if you were getting control back. Like, instead of the door being shut on you, you now get to decide when you want to close that door. And really this reclamation of like your autonomy and sovereignty in the context of this career choice, right? So again, instead of it being taken away from you, you get to decide when you want to hang that hat up. And I know I've spoken to you like since you've been taking some shifts, which by the way, like, you're just casual. This isn't like your full-time gig.
Super casual. I haven't worked in like a month, but
well, and even that, like, that decision around that was so beautiful, because you very clearly set the intention of, this gets to fuel my passions, right? This gets to be how I get to afford doing further trainings around matrescence and the nervous system and doula birth stuff, right? And I think that's really important to name and normalize that. I don't know. We are allowed to have different streams of income and different pathways in that sense, right?
Yeah. And like, I'm really kind of going back into it with such a different mindset. Like you said, I'm taking my power back a little bit, and like, it's not my whole career now. Now it is a job that I love and that I'm good at, and I will do good work, but I'm super casual. I get to go when I want to. And I'm there to do the job and to come home and focus on the rest of my life. Whereas before it was like, I want to climb whatever possible ladders there are. I want to be the best. It's just not that anymore for me. And that was part of what was so hard about making the decision to even go back, was like, I lost so much respect for the nursing profession as a whole during that whole COVID time. So I still have a lot of bad tastes in my mouth. Anyways, point being, it's been a wild ride, like the whole thing, the whole process of coming to terms with letting go of that identity, and then now going back to it in a different way, but going back to it. So I've got, those little letters behind my name again, RN. Yeah. And it's been good so far.
Well, and like the identity shift that comes with that, right? Because you had made peace with losing those letters behind your name and not having that be a big part of your identity anymore, instead of it being something like in the past, right? And then of course, almost like this feeling of whiplash probably to now come back into it, and just the whole swirl and storm of emotions and stuff that brings in. And this isn't the same, but for me, like I was going through my own like identity shifts. I don't remember if we talked about this. No, if it was, holy crap, if it was June, massive identity shift. I'm not just a stay-at-home mom anymore. I'm a fucking daycare mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was
Oh my gosh.
such a huge ego death for me, because I didn't realize how tightly I was gripping on to the identity of being a stay-at-home mom, right? I was really attached to the identity of being the sole caregiver and everything to my daughter, and making the decision to find childcare outside of the home was such a mind fuck, such a mind fuck. And obviously we're what, 6, 7 months. Well, so she technically started in July, and the summer, this is probably exactly why we haven't been recording, because my life literally felt like it had to stop for a while. During that time, I was on a social media break too, because literally I just was at capacity trying to navigate that season of motherhood. And yeah, the first 3 months of Aubrey being at daycare were really, really hard. She did not transition well or easy. It was also really, really hard on me, just trying to make sense of who am I without her around. And it was this like funny friction of emotions, because I wanted it. I wanted more space and time to pour into myself and my business. And then when I'd get it, it still didn't feel good. And that was so, so confusing to sit with.
And you needed it. You were really in what
I
looked
did.
like a burnt out place.
Yes,
Like you
I
were,
was. I did need it. And I'm really proud of myself for identifying that need, because like I said, it was uncomfortable to even go there. And it was an ego death and giant identity shift, giant identity evolution. But I think intertwined in all of that, we were also navigating a haven't spoken this out loud at all in anything public, so this feels big, but Lauren and I talked about this before recording, and I do want to start sharing this, so we're just going to talk about it. So in the middle of all that, we were, well, me and my husband were kind of at a friction point of trying to decide if we wanted to pursue an evaluation for our daughter to see if she was autistic. And that was a big mindfuck for me too, because I'm a big believer in not believing in those labels and not wanting to participate in like that side of the medical system. And I guess more context in how all of this kind of unfolded. So my mom, myself, and Aubrey went on a little girls' trip back in May. And that was the first time that my mom had been around Aubrey for more than just an afternoon or an evening. Obviously, she's a very present granny, but nothing longer than a couple hours. And so this was like 3 full days together. And towards the end of the trip, Aubrey was like so dysregulated. And also Aubrey was just being Aubrey. None of this was abnormal for me. It was exactly what I expected on the trip. And my mom kind of approached me towards the end saying, wow, this is intense. Like, first of all, she challenged me on my decision of holding the vision of wanting to be a stay-at-home mom and homeschool and run a business. Like, I remember she kind of confronted that vision of mine. She's like, how are you going to do that? Like, how? And then in the same breath, she also said, have you considered that Aubrey might be on the spectrum? And in that moment, I remember being really triggered, being really activated and upset and almost betrayed. It's like, how could my own mom say that about her daughter's daughter? How could a granny say that about her granddaughter? And I don't remember us having much discussion of it in that moment, thankfully, because I think it wouldn't have been a good conversation. But coming away from that, I recognized that activation, that trigger was actually because those were things that I had already been thinking and I had been suppressing and not really allowing myself to sit with. And then for her to see it and activate it within me and almost validate it was like, oh shit, like, I guess I do have to look at this. I can't just tuck this away and pretend that it's not happening. And for her, my own mom, who like knows me so well and knows my daughter so well, she's not just saying it to stir shit, right? She's saying it because she truly is well-intentioned and is curious, right? So to make a long story short in that really kind of got my gears rolling and opened up my heart and my mind to do a little bit more research and really just make more sense about what autism in a toddler girl even looks like. And honestly, yeah, that was in May. That also kind of amplified the decision to trial daycare because we really didn't know how Aubrey was around other kids. We've been pretty isolated, and I totally get why, because of all of the things that we've been dealing with that we didn't necessarily have language for why we were dealing with them. Like, it all makes sense now because, spoiler, she does have autism. But in that kind of moment of trying to make all these decisions, some of the data that I think would have been helpful in confirming a diagnosis was to have a better understanding of like how she is socially with kids her age. And we didn't really have that data, on top of me being burnt out and really needing a break. So there was that mixture of things that really led us to, okay, let's find like an aligned childcare provider of some sort. And that was really hard too, because I didn't think I wanted daycare. I think I wanted a day home, and then blah, 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 blah. Anyways, we really got lucky on the daycare we found. It was like just a perfect storm of events. We're very, very lucky to this day. Very, very lucky. So much gratitude for where she is right now. But in that decision-making process, it was also really illuminating for my mom and I, because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And so as we were learning more about what autism looks like in toddler girls, we were also learning about just like autism in women and like high functioning, that's not the correct use of language, but like more high functioning autism, right? Like autism isn't just a nonverbal boy obsessed with trains. And I will admit that was the only kind of portrayal of autism that I knew. And so to really start seeing the different flavors that it can show up as was really illuminating. And like I said, so my mom and I began to just uncover our own neurodivergence and all of that too. And it's almost like Aubrey is just this beautiful mirror for us to see ourselves. And it's been this really incredible experience in understanding all of us at a deeper level and learning how to really accommodate our needs and our quirks in a way that I never would have had language for or been able to understand without pursuing the evaluation and getting the diagnosis and doing all the research I did. But also, like, within all that, it was also more ego deaths because obviously I've never identified as someone that's autistic before, and I never thought I'd be a parent of a child that's autistic. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I could go on and on and on, but this kind of segues into just more of our journey together, because there was actually a moment, I think, actually, I didn't share any of this with you until days leading up to the evaluation. And I said, Lauren, like, I've been really scared to share this with you. And I also don't want it to be something that like you find out after the fact and like I didn't tell you. And sitting with the discomfort of sharing it was really interesting, because it was very similar to when I was pregnant and planning a home birth and not wanting to share that because I didn't want to be talked out of it. I didn't want to be talked out of this. I already had such a hard time making the decision. Like, my husband and I, we had such a hard time making the decision of, do we actually want an evaluation? Do we actually want this diagnosis? Do we want a report and a paper trail attached to our daughter's name, right? Like, there's a lot of weight that comes with that. And especially for a diagnosis that, like, to this day, I don't even know if I agree with, right? I don't even know, I don't see it through the same lens that like our family doctor does. Let's just put it that way, right? Like, it's different. And so, yeah, there was, I guess, in hindsight, like a lot of shame in even making that decision. And it was an invitation for me to really trust my gut and my intuition too, because when we did have the evaluation with the child psychologist, I remember even naming this to her, that my biggest fear is that you tell me she isn't autistic, because then I'm just going to feel like I'm crazy. And this was the big moment. This was the diagnosis. You don't have to worry about that. She never actually had a big formal diagnosis. It was like partway through the evaluation, and you don't have to worry about that. So that was my answer. But like, yeah, those months were really hard because I was tossing and turning literally every second of the day and was absolutely obsessed with consuming resources around autism, especially in women and especially in like toddler girls. So like books, podcasts, Facebook groups, Instagram reels, whatever, right? Anything to just kind of make sense of what our experience was. And I think just to kind of like tie this all together and like where I've been at basically since getting that confirmation in September, that's when we got the diagnosis, is now trying to make sense of, okay, what does this actually look like going forward? Is this Aubrey's story? Is this something that I need to protect and not talk about? Is this something that I, kind of need to keep as a little secret in our family? Is this something that I should and could talk about through my own lens? Do I just talk about my own kind of now undiagnosed, highly masked autism? Do I just talk about it through that? And that never felt right because it's not just that. It's also been the journey of now being a mother to an autistic child. And so it's been really hard trying to make sense of all that and trying to make the right decision. And I just named to you before recording this that I think what's been coming up for me is being in kind of the echo chamber and the corner of the internet that I am. There's a lot of moms that are very strongly in their opinions about not showing their child online. And I get why. And I've always kind of been on the fence there. And I think for me, the tiny part of me that felt like I needed to protect this for her was trying to please those and gain their respect and approval, which is so interesting to name out loud, right? It was really just a should. And as soon as I recognized it as a should and actually was able to recognize that, no, there is actually this desire to share this part of our stories out loud, because I think a part of the problem with neurodivergence and autism specifically is that all we know is, like I said, that little boy that's nonverbal and is obsessed with trains. So if we don't start widening our view of the many different flavors that autism can show up as, it's going to continue to perpetuate the stigma and the ableism that's present in our world right now. So it actually does feel really important to me that I start speaking about this from my experience and to model to Aubrey that this isn't something that we have to hide. This isn't something that we're ashamed of. In fact, this is actually something we're really proud of because it makes us really, really cool human beings. And it feels like a superpower some days.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was like my question for you as you were trying to figure out even today, like if you should talk about this or not. What do you want Aubrey to think about this as she gets older? Right.
Yeah.
And you don't want her to feel like she has to hide it or that it's something wrong. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful
But that's been
neurodiversity.
a big part of this journey for me is that sense of wrongness that I have been carrying. And so, yeah, that inner work of kind of dismantling the internalized ableism that I now have language for around autism. And I was naming this to you earlier too, because I don't, how do I want to word this? I feel like so many people are talking about ADHD and that's becoming more and more normalized. And I don't know, the permission field has just widened, right? Nobody really bats an eyelash if you say, oh, I have ADHD. And I don't feel that way with autism. I think autism continues to kind of have a different stigma around it. And so I've just, again, been noticing my own internalized stories and beliefs that I've been holding around that. And it's been such a beautiful opportunity to, dismantle them and kind of disrupt the beliefs and the stories around that.
Well, I hope you're proud of yourself. I was going to say I'm proud of you, but I hope you're proud of yourself for making the decision. And like thinking back to these last 6 months or more since May, and just all of the difficult decisions you've had to make, and all of the, you've been in it. You've had a lot going on.
I have been in it. And it's funny because I kind of sit here and there's a very deep desire to be seen and witnessed in all of that. So it means a lot that you're able to sit here and reflect that back to me, that like it's not just the diagnosis, it's everything that led up to that, and the decisions and the inner friction that went behind all of that, right? But I think maybe there's a fear or a knowing that it's not a big deal, right? It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But it feels like such a big deal for me because it literally has changed our lives. So there's a desire to be witnessed in this life-changing moment of time for us. And also, it's not a big deal. It's this weird, weird
the paradox.
Because it's not a big deal, and it totally doesn't change anything about anything, right? I'm still Nicole. I'm still literally nothing changes. If anything, it just allows me to be more me. It allows Aubrey to be more Aubrey.
Yeah. With added supports that are going to help her be more Aubrey. Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's been a whole other thing. I totally did not intend to just talk about me this whole time, but obviously, getting this diagnosis and being in an incredible daycare has given us access to some incredible supports. There's also access to government funding and other things like that. And obviously, Lauren and I are in Canada, so I don't know what it looks like for people that aren't in Canada. But there's been a lot of guilt, I guess is the right word, in receiving that. I've noticed how quick I am to gaslight our experience and kind of like the mind chatter of, well, other people have it worse. There's more severely autistic people, kids out there that need more support, or families that need more funding. And I totally can understand that that sentence was completely incorrect in every way. But that's truly like the story that I've had to work through in my head, and really, just had to soften. Both Dylan and I have had to kind of soften into accepting support and being open to receive and feeling worthy to receive. So, but the segue in all of this, I think, is so many people that follow both of us have been asking, because they knew that I went to go visit you in November. So many people I know for me have been asking, like, oh, how was your trip to go see Lauren? And I know I was posting bits of it online, and then I kind of just stopped halfway through the trip because the trip was intense. And I think to this day, we're still trying to make sense of it. And it's nothing to do with like our relationship. Our relationship is still really good. I think it was just, one, you got to witness me and Aubrey since this diagnosis, right? And so you got to witness who Aubrey is and all of her Aubrey-ness. And then also just witnessing the dynamic of both of our daughters, who are similar in age, and just all of it. It was dysregulating.
It was a wild. It was what, like 48 hours? Was it even?
No, it was longer than that. We flew in on the morning and we left on a Friday evening. So it was almost 3 full days. 2 nights, almost 3 full days. But I think looking back, I think it maybe, I'm not gonna put words in your mouth, but kind of similar to my mom. My mom only ever knew bits of Aubrey, and you only ever knew bits of Aubrey. And so to get to witness Aubrey and just the experience of me being Aubrey's mother in a more than 3-hour period is illuminating.
Very illuminating. And, having my own very strong-willed, opinionated, fiery toddler thrown in the mix as well was just absolutely wild. I don't even know how to explain the intensity of the two of them together, because it's actually quite comical.
It is comical, especially being out of it now. In the moment, I know
it was
difficult for both of us. And I remember saying to you on the trip, this is exactly what I expected, Lauren. This is why we're only here for 2 nights. Because you were supposed to come longer. I'm like, no, I don't think we can do longer. I think 2 nights is going to be enough. And I remember there was a moment we were driving to the beach and both girls were just screaming at the top of their lungs in the back seat. There were several moments. So Aubrey repeats herself a lot. And so I don't even remember what she was repeating in the car. And your daughter we were all having enough, but your daughter says what she doesn't have the adult maturity that we do to bite our tongue.
Yes.
So she was saying what we all felt and demanding Aubrey to stop, and Aubrey can't stop. And so we're sitting there, like both of them are right. Yeah. Your daughter's right for wanting Aubrey to stop talking, and Aubrey's right for being Aubrey, right? Neither of them are wrong. And it was just an interesting moment. It turned into a big screaming match between the two of them, and you and I literally just sitting in the car.
It's like my worst nightmare, honestly, because for me, it's auditory overstimulation and like whining and crying just throws my nervous system into fight right away. And we are so different in like our nervous system natural states.
Yeah.
Mine goes straight to fight, and yours?
I like withdraw.
Yeah. So, and I'm just thinking of the drive to the airport at the end. That was literally my worst nightmare. Like, the two of them are screaming at each other, and it's just going around in a loop, and neither one of them is going to stop, and neither one of them should stop because, again, they're both right. One's repeating themselves, and one doesn't want to hear it anymore. And then Nicole shut down in the front seat, and I'm like fuming I wanted to crash the car. Oh my God. Like, it was my worst nightmare. And like my body was just so dysregulated. I wanted to run. And yeah, it was so bad. And we were stuck in traffic. It was like an hour long of this. Yeah. It was intense. It was very intense.
I think what is cool in all of that, though, because we're both well versed in the nervous system and obviously like nerd out on that stuff, I know we had multiple conversations of just like bringing context into the equation. And like you had mentioned, like you had been on this beautiful journey of eating more and exercising more and all the things, and you had kind of stopped doing that because obviously having house guests in your home is dysregulated on its own. And so to recognize that your capacity was shrinking because of the other things that you weren't doing to tend to yourself, right? And so it was like this beautiful just reminder of how important those other things are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just like how many different things go into your nervous system state.
Yeah.
It's not just, I'm hearing loud noises and now I want
a screaming child in the backseat.
Yeah, like now I want to punch something.
Protein before your coffee today and like sunlight in your eyes, and did you see all of the things?
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was also like you said, you kind of knew what the trip was going to be like. I certainly had expectations. Like I couldn't wait to just, put the girls to bed and then sit and chat and have a glass of wine. And that did not happen. I think we did have a couple good, little amounts of time where we actually got to talk and have a nice deep conversation. But other than that, it was just both of us trying to survive and like not let the girls kill each other. Yeah.
Well, because literally that's the thing, is they are both so fiery that is probably what it would turn into if there was an intervention. What was funny and ironic and maybe annoying and confusing too was like when your husband would come home and how different his energy would be with the girls. Right. And obviously like the combination of he isn't tapped out. He's right. He's coming home with kind of a full tank to parent, but also just noticing, I think both girls, they're like, I don't even know what it is. Like their energy shifted with him stepping in as a co-regulator. And I think that's really important and interesting to name too, that I think as moms, we get, well, one, we are often the ones that are tapped out for so many different reasons, but also I think our kids, we're like that safe place for our kids. And it's not that their dad isn't, but it's just different, right? That mother-child relationship is different. And so, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Maybe you have something to echo or pull out from that.
Yeah. It was just interesting.
Witness. Yeah.
Yeah, because then he'd come home and they'd go downstairs and the three of them would play together for a while and there'd be no screaming.
What?
But
Like
then,
it almost, because we would explain to him how our day was and like he saw none of it and he probably thought we were just crazy and like lying.
yes. Yeah. 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 And of course, I know that my own reactions certainly, make my daughter's reactions even worse. I know that, but it still doesn't make it like easy to stop or to, kind of break that cycle. Like it's hard. It's really hard, especially when it's that drip, drip, drip all day long. And yeah, it was, yeah. So was it a nice visit? It was
It
nice.
was, yes.
It was tough. It was tricky because again, like how we don't know how to navigate this. I don't know how to teach Zoe about autism. Like, I don't know the words to say.
I know.
She's also 3.5. Like, I don't, I felt very almost helpless in those moments of like, how do I explain to her that, yeah, maybe it's annoying to you and that's okay. But yeah, we can't just tell her to stop. We can't, do we? I don't know.
And I mean, I felt the same way, right? Because we're witnessing the same things. And I'm not gonna get mad or right. There's nothing I can do to manage Aubrey in a different way.
Yeah.
And you never made me feel like I should or I had to, but it's just a very complex situation. And I think what was also really illuminating for both of us is like confirmation for you that you don't want any more kids and confirmation for me that I am not ready for another child yet.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, no, there is no way that I can handle another nervous system to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was also just illuminating because again, there's nothing wrong with how any of it. There was nothing inherently wrong with, how Aubrey was behaving. But it was illuminating to have a better understanding of what life has been like for you guys at home. And yeah, what kind of led to this summer of being burnt out. Like I just have such a better understanding of, like how complicated and difficult it's been.
Yeah. And I think that's where that desire to be seen and witnessed comes from, is to understand the complexity. And so it feels really good to, I mean, you reflected that back to me on the trip too, as we were driving to the airport, but just to reiterate, it feels really good to be seen in that. And even that experience of desiring, it's almost like desiring validation. And I feel like that's something that I've judged myself for in the past, of wanting validation, because I mean, I've been on this journey of I don't need external validation, blah, 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 blah. And it's also, but we are human and it's our innate birthright and desire to be seen and recognized and accepted. And so I think that genuine reflection and the genuine witnessing and space holding that you offer is exactly the feeling that I want to be feeling, right? I want to feel that like safeness of, like she sees the complexity here. She's not trying to fix it. She's not trying to even make sense of it. She's just seeing me. And we all deserve that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, like I've signed up to go to therapy. I've never gone to a therapist. I've never done counseling or anything like that. I've been on the other end. I've been a mental health nurse at one point for like university students for a short stint, but I've never, and I've learned about it. I know about different modalities and things like that, but I've never gone myself. And one of the perks of being a nurse again is that I get access to a mental health benefit. So I was like, well, there's no barrier here. I might as well use this. And it's that same desire. Like, I just want to be validated in my experience of how tricky motherhood is sometimes.
Yeah.
And like, it's not about, I'm not desiring a diagnosis. I don't think I have any kind of, thing wrong with me. I'm just going because it's hard and I want to be able to talk about it. And I want to hear from somebody that like, yeah, this is normal to feel that way. It's true. Yeah.
For us, that's, I suppose, partially what the diagnosis gave us, right? It was like, okay, you're not crazy. And the adaptations that you have had to make as parents, it all makes sense now. So for me, it's been this, yeah, almost this permission slip that I didn't know I needed, didn't even know I wanted, but it's really helped us to both soften and strengthen our our parenting values, I guess. And really the value has always been to follow Aubrey's lead, but there's also been a lot of like second guessing and self-doubt in that. There's been a lot of, oh my God, is it our, for lack of a better word, relaxed parenting that kind of created her to be like this? And it's no, that was an adaptation. That is intuitively how we had to respond to survive. And it's just really incredible to kind of have that language and to be able to witness myself and my husband's experience and all of that, like through that lens. And going
Yeah, and pardon?
and going forward. Like it's
Yeah.
it's a gift. It's a gift now to have language that we didn't have before.
Yeah. And yeah, just that the whole idea of like validation, like even in myself, I think we're always striving, like we always want to know why, right? Like I want to know why I behave this way sometimes. I want to know why I get so dysregulated so easily. I want to know why, I fly off the handle if there's 3 different noises happening around me. And, for me personally, I've been on this, 6 month, probably longer, probably my whole adult life, but journey of exploring my own possible neurodiversity. But again, from this place of I want an answer. Like I want some validation. I want there to be a reason why I am like this, and which, is that good? Is that not good? I don't know. But that's where I'm at. So yeah, my own exploration of my own neurodiversity. And, I've had multiple people tell me, Lauren, I think you have ADD. In my adult life. And yeah, just the more and more that I explore that and research it and look through things and, assess myself like any good millennial does.
Neurodivergent would do.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's becoming more and more clear that, yes, I think that is the case here. And yeah, there's like a lot of validation that comes with that and a lot of, okay, now how can I support myself better? Like, how can I work with this? How can I, instead of be constantly fighting against these quirks I have, like, how can I learn
the advantage and
learn tools to harness it? Because same thing, like it's a superpower as well. Like my ability to see and focus on so many things at once and have a very broad view and, hyper focus on things and all of the stuff that comes along with it. Yeah. But same thing. Do I need to go and get a real diagnosis? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. At this point in my life, will it give me anything? I don't think so. I don't want to go on medication and I don't need it for schooling assistance. So yeah.
Well, that was one of the tricky choice points in deciding to get a diagnosis for Aubrey is obviously she is young and the supports available to her are only available with the diagnosis. So it was almost like we aren't even the supports, not even like financial, not even like related to like school or daycare, but just like any kind of support, it's almost gate kept unless you have that diagnosis. So that was a big deal for me because this sucks. Like I have to fucking play with the system. I have to play their game just to have this door be opened for me. And I mean, that could be a whole other conversation too, just around like the pathologization.
Why can't I say that?
Pathologization, yeah. Pathologizing, right? That we're pathologizing things that don't need to be pathologized, just like the world does with everything, right?
Yeah.
And this fear of not wanting her to be stuck in just a different box, right? Really my intention is this gives her the permission to not try to squish herself in a box, in a box that she has no right to even belong in. None of us should be stuck in that box. But my intention is this helps give her the language to not feel like she needs to be squished in a box. But there was fear that the diagnosis, the label that it gives her would just put her in another box. And I don't know where I'm going with that. I think just, to echo like what you were saying around, it's not about getting a diagnosis or getting this language to now have the understanding of like how to fix and how to control, it's really self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what came to mind there is we're all searching for belonging in whatever ways, and sometimes having a label is like a way to make yourself feel like you belong to something. I think that's gone really overboard in our society right now, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like really the last, 6, 7 months have been a really intense deep dive of like self-exploration. And like I said, like for my mom too, which has been incredible to witness her make sense of her own life and begin unmasking and begin accommodating herself and just in all the different facets that shows up in. But like I said, all of this is because Aubrey has been our mirror, and what a gift that is too, right? We talk about all the time our kids being our mirrors, but don't necessarily talk about what the ripple effect that ends up being.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Like it's beautiful, truly. Yeah. So, yeah, that's been the last 6 months, I guess, right?
So if you're wondering why we haven't been recording,
yeah.
I think too, like I don't know, like if people have been following my work, it might make more sense too for some of the offers that I've been creating and just kind of the values that I am choosing to be a little bit more loud and bold around, specifically around like decolonization and kind of dismantling white supremacy and the patriarchy. And again, kind of the through line and all of that, like it's really cool because I almost see like my life unfolding in these chapters. And we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of me being fired for saying Free Palestine online. And that was a catalyst for me to start dismantling like racism and white supremacy, specifically in the coaching space and like how we show up online as white women and coaches. And so that was a really big deal for me. And again, it's one of those things where it feels like such a big deal for me, but people are just like watching me and it's Nicole, it's not a big deal. But then this whole like autism unraveling is now this invitation to dismantle ableism. And I'm constantly being invited to just continue deconditioning and decolonizing my mind and my life from just the toxic systems that we live in. And so that's become a huge value of mine in my business. And the retreat that I was attempting to host that I'm likely going to have to cancel. The time of recording this, it's Thursday. There's one more day to join. I don't know when we're going to release this episode, but like that was all about coming undone from the limitations that have been keeping you small and keeping you from dimming your light. And the intention and the core like values and vibe and pillars around that offering still remain really, really significant and important and meaningful to me. And it's because it's literally like an extension and an embodiment of what I'm living in my life right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's been so neat to witness you through this launch and this newest offering and just, yeah, witnessing the energy you're giving off around it. It's been really neat to witness.
Yeah, there's been a lot of shifts and it feels really different in a really good way.
Yeah. Like after all of that, all last summer into the fall, where are you at now? How are you feeling now? As because it's January, technically it's like, woohoo, the new year, start fresh. Like I don't really, go agree with that. I do think we're, deep in a winter season, but I also agree with just following your body. So where are you with the new year vibes?
Yeah. And so, I mean, usually I'm not for it at all. This year felt different. And I think, again, given the context of last year, it makes sense. It really feels like, I mean, obviously we've been conditioned to kind of use the years as ways to compartmentalize our life and our memories, right? You think of things and you kind of assign what year they belong to, right? Yeah. So I was really leaning into that. And so not so much about new year, new goals, new resolutions. It's none of that, but it did really feel like turning the page and starting a new chapter. And the I don't know, the blankness and mystery and excitement of that really does feel alive to me still. I mean, we're what, 2 weeks, 1 weekend? I don't even know the date. I have no idea.
The 9th. Yeah, 9 days in.
So yeah, like it did feel really, I don't know what I'm looking for. It's not like I'm starting a bunch of new things and trying to create new things in my life and like a new identity. And also I'm being really mindful and receptive with the multidimensionality of like my inner seasons, right? So yeah, okay, it is winter outside. I should be resting. I should be turning inwards. Right? There's all the shoulds we could assign to that if all we're looking at is like that external season. But there's so many other moving parts to my life because I'm a full ass human. And so there's the season of motherhood I'm in, which absolutely is feeling more like spring-like energy, maybe even summer. There's the season of business I'm in, which same thing feels more spring and summer. There's my inner menstrual cycle, right? So obviously that's shifting in a 28-day cycle. But the whole point is it's not just about winter and like shooting on myself because everything is dead outside. So that means everything must be like dead for me. To say it bluntly.
Yeah. Nuance, baby.
Right? Yeah. Our favorite thing to talk about. I think too, like, I don't know, there's also a difference, I think, in the intention behind the intention. Right? Is the intention to like the hype, I think, around like New Year goal setting is honestly, I don't even know because I've never really resonated with it. But New Year's resolution is something's wrong. We need to fix. We need to get better. We're not good enough. And that's not the energy I resonate with. So like when I am setting intentions, when I am setting goals, and when I am kind of vision casting, it's not from this place of I'm not good enough and I have to get better. And I think that's really important to name too, because yeah, I don't know. I think intention setting and vision casting and whatever else you want to call it, it doesn't need to be assigned to a calendar day. It can be on a fucking Tuesday. It can be on a full moon, even though new moons are for new beginnings. It can, right? It's
Yeah. We don't follow rules here.
I'm also laughing because now we've both just named our undiagnosed neurodiversities. And I feel like people listening are probably like, well, yeah, of course. Like we already knew that. I feel like everyone I've told in like people that know me, they don't even bat an eyelash. Like they're not surprised at all.
That's funny.
I've also noticed that like the relationships that I've formed, like specifically online, I seem to attract other neurodivergent people. And obviously that was never intentional, especially because I never even had the language for it. But it is really interesting just to notice that we vibe together and there's that like kind of energetic connection, even if there aren't formal labels or diagnoses.
Yeah. I just always appreciate the speed at which we can keep up with each other and the million strings that we can have going at the same time, like a million topics. And
well, maybe that's it, right? I can't form a deep relationship with someone that can't follow me.
Yeah, exactly.
Up with that pace. So I love it. I love it so much. But again, that's it. Like that, like having the language, like formal diagnosis or not, but having that language again is just widening the permission field for us to fully, truly see ourselves and unapologetically own these tangents, unapologetically own this pace, unapologetically own the kind of, for me, it shows up in this hyper fixated, obsessive, like crazy focus and energy and then literally almost like collapse marinating in bed for a couple days. And again, the nuance in that too, because I also understand that that is aligned with my human design, my profile as being a 6/2. It's just so interesting. All these little like self-discovery tools. And again, not using them as prescription, but using them as tools for exploration.
Yeah. And a deeper understanding, more self-compassion, self-awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have no idea how long we've been recording for.
A while. I think an hour, maybe longer.
Obviously, part of our intention with this sub-series was to potentially add ritual to our own lives and invite our listeners to ritual and connect with the new and full moons. We are approaching a full moon that we know nothing about and really kind of feel disconnected from the lunar cycle in this moment. So I just wanted to name that.
This is true. Yeah.
Because this is like a part of it too, right? This journey of whatever, cyclical embodiment and spirituality and all of it. There's no right way to do it. And it gets to be imperfect and it gets to be messy and inconsistent. And
yeah.
There's
no performance here.
Nope. None.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah. If anything, I'm most connected to like my menstrual cycle energy right now. I'm on day 28. Feeling that.
Yeah.
Feeling low.
On day 9. Is that right? Let me look.
Yeah. And I think it ties into the post-holiday crash a little bit for me as well. I certainly this past weekend did not leave the couch. I was just absolutely exhausted after all of the socialization that I had to do. I'm truly an extroverted introvert in my need and desire for
Well, you hosted family for Christmas, right? So you
It did, yeah.
How many days?
I had my mom and stepdad for a week and then a couple days with no one. And then I had some friends arrive for about 5 days as well. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun and so nice to be together. But yeah, feeling that crash now, but also feeling that like exciting energy of January because I did take off. I really just focused on being present over the holidays and not worrying about work and business and anything else. So it did feel like a break. So then it makes January feel even more like this beginning, this new chapter,
Well, again, because in your season of business, this does get to be a spring.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is, which is so exciting because I feel like it was a very long winter, which is okay because that's the season of motherhood I was in. I didn't have much capacity for much else. And yeah, I guess that's my update too since the fall, like getting more in-person birth and postpartum doula clients. I've, secured more for this upcoming year, which is exciting. So there's this momentum building, which feels really good and really exciting. So yeah, it's nice to be in this energy right now of creation and still longing for collaboration as always. That is my big, I think, value and like desire for this year is more collaboration and co-creation with like-hearted people.
One with that, we talk about this so often, but we never actually name it or take action on it. We're one day going to do musings and musings and magic circles, virtual circles. Yeah, but we should actually take action on that.
We should.
So literally every episode you are calling in collaboration and I'm like, hey, Lauren, like we keep talking about it, but we're not actually taking action on it. So
let's do it. Okay, it's on here now, so we got to do it now. Need a little urgency to get me going.
And again, just like normalizing and accommodating yourself with that need, right? Yeah. And it's okay that you need that urgency and that you need that like outside accountability. That's something that I've actually really been leaning into is outside accountability. And for a while, I was really trying to almost prove to myself that I didn't need it, because I was almost judging myself for wanting it. And it's fuck that. We are humans. We're pack animals. We're supposed to be in community. Of course, accountability just helps, right?
Yeah. And that's been my experience with this hormone group thing that I did for the last 3 months. So it was like a wellness, it's called The Balanced Woman. I'll link it in the show notes because the woman that runs it is amazing. But that's exactly what it was for me. I needed that external accountability to change some really bad habits I found myself in that were contributing to my dysregulation and to my lack of capacity and, feeling so depleted and low energy. And now I'm like, yeah, with that help, but same thing. It was like I wanted to try to prove to myself that I could do it. But, I'm 35 and I still haven't done it. So is it okay to have that and that external, and now I'm exercising 3 times a week, no problem. And that for me has been so hard for me to make and build new routines.
You went
It's got to be
a fucking yoga studio at 6 a.m.
this morning. I know. Who am I?
Yeah, who are you?
I know.
I can't even imagine that. I just feel so out of reach right now.
'Tis the season for me, but yeah, like having that help to a hand to hold to get me out of those habits and into new ones. And realizing that, I need a little bit of hand holding and a little bit of accountability. And, she's got an app that's been really helpful for my brain. So all of these little tools and tricks have just been, and now I have the proof that, see, I can do this. I can be consistent. I can, create new routines and do things I don't want to do and keep my brain, somewhat on track. So yeah,
we were talking about that before recording too, like this journey more recently I've been on of recognizing that for a while I was kind of associating a sense of like ease with alignment. Oh, if it feels easy and if it's something that I want to do, then it must be in alignment, and kind of this like fluffy way of seeing things. And I'm really recognizing that I very much still believe that like desires are a compass, and leading by desire is a profound way to lead our life. But the vehicle in which we meet those desires might not be something we want to do, and it might not be something that feels easy. And so creating more space and holding myself through the discomfort of doing hard things when they're in pursuit of a greater vision and a greater desire, right? And so I feel like what you just described are perfect examples of that. I don't know, like you probably don't wake up at 6 a.m. thinking, well, I want to roll out of bed and go to the yoga studio and do yoga. But at the end of it, it feels good, and it's in pursuit of a greater desire of how you want to feel. Or like my examples where every night, like I make a overnight tea infusion, and if I don't do it, then I don't have it in the morning. So it's one of those things, like what kind of things can you do that your future self will thank you for? And for me, it's been this journey of recognizing that those things aren't always things that I want to do, but they're things that I need to do in pursuit of my greater desire and greater vision.
And you used the word devotion earlier when we were talking about this. And I love that word.
Well, because that's what it is.
Devotion
to self. And this is so beautiful in the context of New Year's, right? Because that's the thing, is so many people feel like they need to have this discipline and commitment. And again, it's coming from the energy of something's wrong and I need to fix and I need to control. And I think what's really more gentle and impactful and sustainable is the sense of devotion, right? So being devoted to yourself in the sense of like self-love and self-acceptance and self-compassion, but also being devoted to your desires, your vision, your goals, whatever that is, the things that are feeling out of reach. What are the things that you need to devote yourself to get there?
And like self-trust, like it's this devotion to self, and you can trust that you're going to continue to be devoted to that. Oh, I just love that word devotion. It's just got a very like feminine energy to it for me as well.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that was enough musings for one day.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Stay tuned because we're going to set a date for our first Musings and Magic Circle. You've heard it here. It's going to
I'm
happen.
so excited. Ooh, it'll be like having one of these conversations with us.
Yeah, and getting to pull out all these threads and be witness to your own experience. I think I keep coming, oh, okay. So vulnerability, honesty, the things that I'm so good at. Oh my eyes. It's one of those things where I know it's a superpower and it's also, oh, here I go again, like breaking the cycle of silence because nobody else is talking about it. But I'm really leaning into the power of group work and how basically my entire business has been built off of group work. I've always kind of offered one-on-one mentorship, but it's never been something that I really try to market, and I don't try really hard to fill those spots because it's not necessarily what lights me up. Obviously, if it's with the right person, that's a different story, but I really see the profound power and potency of being in circle and being in community. And really, for all of the reasons we've just kind of pulled on in this episode around like widening the permission field and being able to lean on and glean the wisdom from each other's shared experience and breaking the cycle of silence in whatever it is that we are kind of moving into a shame spiral around, and collaboration,
and getting that validation,
community, all of that, acceptance, belonging, all of it. And I also think we've talked about this. I don't know if we've talked about this in a Musings and Magic episode, but for both of us, like we've kind of had conversations around just the coaching space's obsession with scaling your business and having pre-recorded stuff. And something that I keep coming back to as a value of mine in my own business is like the medicine is too strong to administer without supervision. And I don't mean that in a, I know better than you, and so I have to like watch what you're doing. But what I mean by that is like when we're in community and when we're in circle with each other, it allows for the activation and the potential triggers that come up to actually be like met and held space for, as opposed to just becoming more like constricted and like suppressed and all of the things, right? Like it's really a beautiful opportunity to truly see yourself in ways you've never seen yourself and work through things that have felt too sticky, too hard, too uncomfortable.
And especially for mothers, same thing. Like when I think of my own work and my own, offerings and things, like community and connection are the core of what I think is going to help mothers most, is being in community with other mothers who are both in the same kind of season as you and not.
That's the thing too, right? We've lost the art of disagreement. We've lost the ability to hold space for not even disagreeing, but like not being able to understand someone else's experience. And so again, being in circle, being in community, sharing space with other people, not just kind of consuming things in your ear without getting to be witnessed in how you're integrating it. Oh, I don't know. I could go on and on because that is just something that I feel so passionate about and something I really want to lean into this year in my business is how do I continue to create spaces where that supervision, for lack of a better word, is there, right? I don't want to just potentially activate you and stir all these things up with you, but then not hold space for you to make sense of them and let them land and digest and integrate. Okay. Usually my bladder or something tells me that it's time to go off, but I don't even have to pee right now. So this is weird.
Well, I'm hungry, so that's
there we go.
Something.
Okay.
We'll let that.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, my friend. This is
thank
as
you.
always. I love you. I miss you.